Hi there, welcome to That Board Game Show. My name is James Wood, and today I'm going to show you Bonfire, a 1 to 4 player game designed by Stefan Feld, with illustrations and layout by Dennis Lohausen, and published by Hall Games. Today I'm going to show you how Bonfire plays by playing out a few rounds of the solo mode. I've already played a few turns, just to get things rolling along so that I can demonstrate to you mid-game how things are happening, because this game does take a little while to get going and the first few turns are a lot of planning and figuring out which way you're going to go. So the solo game does a very good job of simulating a multiplayer game by pitting you against an automatic player by the name of Tom, who is controlled by this deck of cards over here. After each of my turns, I will flip over one of these cards and that will tell me what Tom does, which will simulate the actions other players would be taking at the table. The illustrator, Dennis Lohausen, has written a whole lore and backstory for this game, setting the theme and the setting of the world. I'm not going to go into all of that today because it's available for you to peruse at your leisure. I'm going to be focusing on the mechanisms and just the gameplay in today's video. So with that said, let's dive in and I'll play out a few more turns and give you a sense of how it plays. So, having already started, I've sailed over here to this island and I've collected this task. As we're playing, we're trying to complete tasks to appease the guardians and bring them back to the cities to reignite the bonfires. So now I have this task in front of me, and I'm able to complete it because I have the required resources. This task here wants you to have 4 gold pieces in your supply. So on your turn, you always just do one action, which you can choose from the list of actions here on your player board. So what I'm going to do now for my action this turn is I'm going to ignite this bonfire, flipping over this token to its lit side, which allows me to then place one of my novices into the High Council over here, which will give me an extra action. For now, I'm just going to place this novice over here at the seat in the High Council, which will allow me to gain 2 gold and a wild action tile. It will become apparent how these things are useful as I play, but basically you're going to be using these action tiles to perform most of the actions in the game, which you will be seeing shortly. So that was my entire turn. I did the one action, and now play proceeds to the automatic player. And we flip over their deck, and Tom will flip over the top card of the specialist's deck over here, and they will take all of the path tiles matching that resource type. In this instance, there are none that match that resource type, so they don't take any. Then play proceeds back to me. And now I have to decide what I'm going to do, because I hadn't thought it through beyond that. I am going to take one of these brown action tiles, which allows me to recruit a specialist from the side over here, and bring them into my city. So how this action works is you either spend 1 action tile and 2 resources, matching the type depicted on the specialist you want to recruit, or if you don't have that type of resource, you can use gold as a wild resource to substitute for anything else, or you can spend 2 action tiles and pay only 1 of the depicted resources, or 1 gold. So right now I've got a lot of gold, so I'm just going to spend 1 of the action tiles back in the supply there. I will then pay 1 fruit and 1 gold to substitute for the second fruit I can't pay to recruit this specialist over here, bringing them into my city. And these specialists will give you ongoing game benefits, and I'll explain what their benefits are as I use them. After recruiting a specialist, I replenish from the deck over there and play proceeds to Tom. So Tom will flip over the top card of his deck. And this icon tells me that Tom will take a guardian from the board. So he just takes any random guardian and adds it to his board over here. And he's basically just trying to collect all the guardians. Again, these are simply representing what other players would be doing on their turn. Play circles back to me. So I will recruit another specialist while I've got all these resources here. Spend a specialist action tile. I am going to pay 2 gold to take this specialist over here because I didn't have any roots, so I had to use all gold to substitute. And that is the end of my turn. Back to Tom, and you will see that his deck is depleted. So we pick up the deck, give it a quick shuffle, and keep drawing. And this is one of the ways that the game end can be triggered. If we go through this deck 4 times, that will immediately end the game. Alternatively, the game will end once 7 novices have been sent to the High Council, at which point we will trigger the game end countdown. And whoever triggers the game end will take this pile of tokens here, which you see has got a 5 on top, place it on their board, on that designated spot over there, and then at the end of each of their turns, they will remove one, passing that to the player to their left. So this tells you how many turns you will have remaining until the end of the game. We aren't quite at the end of the game yet, so Tom will now flip over one of his cards and do an action. And the action he will do is to swivel the great bonfire in the middle of the table and take the next portal that he requires. So he's looking for this squared off portal here, which is right over there. So he'll turn the bonfire 1 step and take a portal. Now, I only have 1 action tile remaining. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a fate tile and add it to my board, and then take the corresponding action tiles. So I can take this top fate tile here or this bottom one here. You cannot take the ones in between. But you do need to think about which ones you're making available. So if I take this bottom one, then I'll be able to choose from those 2 when next I'm down to 1 or fewer action tiles in my supply. So let's see, this one will give me a ship action, which will let me sail around the map. Another recruitment action to recruit more specialists. And a guardian action, which allows me to either recruit a guardian from the map or send my guardians on a procession around my city. I'll explain how that works later when I actually do it. Or I can take this top fate tile, which will allow me to take a task action tile. And the tasks is how you actually retrieve these tasks off the board and bring them into your city. Or this purple icon is a bonfire action, which allows me to turn the bonfire, just like Tom just did. And whenever a player turns the bonfire, they can take 2 of the 3 depicted options. I would quite like to recruit this grey guardian over here, because I have this specialist that gives me extra resources whenever the grey guardian lands on a space. So I will place this fate tile in my city. And when you place it, you can choose the orientation. So let's see, if I go something like, let's go something like that over there. That I think will work. And when you place a fate tile down, it always has to go adjacent to at least 1 other fate tile on your map. You start with this one in the middle. If you were to cover over any of these resource spaces, that would give you a gold, and that would give you a wild action tile. You always get the action tiles on the fate tile you just placed, so I will get a ship, and I'll bring that into my supply, a recruitment action, and a guardian. And then if you touch it adjacent to matching actions that were already on the board, then you also get those. So in this instance, I will get 2 more recruitment action tiles, and 1 more guardian. So that's how you replenish your action tiles, but that is your entire turn. So now play proceeds back to Tom. He will flip that over. Again, he will spin the bonfire and take the next portal he requires. And you will see that all Tom does is take the portals. He doesn't do any of the other actions around here. I am going to send my ship off to collect a guardian. So I'm going to sail, and when you set sail, if you spend one action tile, you can move up to one island away. So from where my ship is currently located over here, I can sail to this holy island here and collect a guardian. I could sail to this island here, or this island here, or this island here. If I wanted to sail out further than that, I would have to spend 2 action tiles to move up to 2 islands away. Or if you spend 3 action tiles, you can then move anywhere on the map. Right now, I'm just going to move 1, and I'm going to sail over here. And then I'm going to spend a guardian action tile, because when you sail your ship, you basically get a free bonus action if you have the action tiles that you need. So when you land on an island, you can either recruit a guardian, which I'm about to do with this. So I spend the guardian action tile, I take the guardian, and I bring them into my city. The other action you could do is if you were to sail to one of these islands, you can take a task, for which you would need to spend a red task action tile. And then you take one of those tasks and you place it in your city. So as you can see, once you've figured out what you're doing, the turns can go very quickly. It can also bog down a little bit if somebody at the table is analyzing every possible permutation of what their actions could be. But the fact that each player only does one relatively basic action per turn does help keep the game ticking over. So now, Tom will take their turn. We will flip over the top card of the specialist deck, and they will take all path tiles with roots on them. So they'll take that, and they'll put that over there. And we will replenish that, thus simulating another player taking a path tile. I am now going to do the other action you can do with a guardian tile. I'm going to spend a guardian tile over here to make a procession with my guardians. So I send them walking around the perimeter of my city along this path. So we'll move them all one space. And then you gain resources matching the spaces on which they end. So where my green guardian landed, I will get a leaf. And then where my gray guardian landed, I will get a gold. But because I recruited this specialist earlier, I will now get 2 gold. So that is quite nice. Had I wanted my guardians to proceed further, if I had more tiles in here, you can spend any number of action tiles to move your guardians an equal number of spaces along the path. That is the end of my turn. Back to Tom. He will take another guardian. And you might be wondering, what is the point of him taking all these guardians if he's never doing anything with them? And basically, it's purely down to end game scoring. So at the end of the game, once the game end has been triggered, I will tally up my points and compare my score to that of Tom's. So we have the scoring card over here, which each player gets given during setup. And it will show us that we'll score points for lit bonfires, like I have over here, and like Tom has over there. You will score points for guardians standing next to lit bonfires. So when you make a procession with your guardians, instead of moving them along the path, if you have one of these portal tiles adjacent to a lit bonfire, so say for instance I had this portal over here, then instead of moving my guardian one step along the path, I could instead move them one step into here. They wouldn't be able to move again for the rest of the game, but they will then score points equal to the space on which they are standing. And these spaces increase in value as you go. And you'll notice another little element, and that is that we've been filling the portals in from right to left, but we've been filling the path tiles in from left to right. So you have to bring those two over and they need to converge to be able to move your guardians in and score those points at the end of the game. The other way to score points is for every lit bonfire adjacent to a portal, you will gain 2 points. For every lit bonfire adjacent to a path tile of the matching color, like I have over here, this red bonfire adjacent to this red path tile, will score 2 additional points. We will score points for these common objectives over here. So if at any time we've completed one of these objectives, we immediately get to place that novice as if we just placed one of our own. And at the end of the game, we will score bonus points accordingly. So that's another thing that Tom is working towards. For instance, one of them here is to have all 7 portals in your city. And you can see he's already got 4, so he only needs to get 3 more. So each time he spins the bonfire and takes one of these portals, he's working towards getting this common task, which would prevent me from getting the bonus of placing that novice and getting a bonus action. You will score points at the end of the game as well for any leftover fate tiles that you haven't placed into your city. And lastly, you'll get 1 point for every 2 leftover action tiles and or resources you have. So those are the things we're working towards and trying to keep in mind as we play. And with all that said, now I need to think about what I'm going to do to try and score some more of those points. I've got lots of these brown recruitment action tiles, so I should probably try to recruit someone. You will see here we have the specialists over on this side, and then on this side of the board there are these gold ones. These gold cards on the side here are elders of the village, and when you recruit them, instead of giving you an ongoing bonus, they will give you a one-time scoring condition. So they will score depending on what you have in your city at the time of recruiting them. So these guys you usually want to hold off on recruiting until nearer the end of the game. I'm going to use this wild action, and I'm going to turn the Great Bonfire, and I'm only going to turn it 1 step, even though my specialist over here allows me to spin it 1 extra. And this will give me a bonfire action tile, and I will pick either one of these portals or 2 points. So right now, the next portal I need to take is that shape, and neither of those match. So I will take the 2 points, 1, 2. Back over to Tom. He will flip over the specialist deck and look at the island with the shells. There will be 2 of them. We have one over here and we have one over there. And he will take the highest value task from one of those. So of those 2, the highest value is this one over here for 7 points. He will take that task and immediately ignite it, adding it to his city. I will spend 1 bonfire action, and again, I'm just going to move it 1 space, even though I have the specialist. They'll probably come in handy at some point. But right now, I'm looking at these resources. I want this leaf over here, and I will take a ship. And the reason I'm taking that is because I've got my eye set on this task over here, which requires you to have 3 leaves. So now I've got what I need there, so I should try and head over here and collect that task. But before I can do that, it is Tom's turn, and he is going to also take a task. We will flip over the specialist tile. We will look at the fruit islands, and we've got one over there and one over there. And he will take the lowest value, fortunately, so he's not going to take the one I'm going for. He's going to take this number 3, and these are all worth their depicted points at the end of the game. And then with this little icon, that means he takes one of his 4 novices and puts it somewhere on the High Council. Now, when Tom places his novices on the High Council, it doesn't really matter where they go. When a player ignites a bonfire and places their novice on the High Council, it does. You can never send a novice to a seat at the High Council where you already have one of your color. You always have to go somewhere different. However, Tom basically ignores that rule. When he does that, you'll see that on these spaces on the High Council, you can either do a bonus action, such as move your ship anywhere, or take a specialist for free, or instead of taking the bonus action, you can always just take 1 point. Tom will always just take the 1 point, so he is now on 2 points. And you'll see that we're not really scoring many points during the game. And that's because you pretty much only score points right at the end. There's some minor times like this space here that gives you 2 points, these ways to get some points, and these elders that give you points in-game. But the majority of points will be tallied up and scored at the end of the game. I am now going to set sail. I'm going to use my ship action tile. And now I want to collect a task, but I don't have a red task action tile. So the first thing I'm going to do is sail over here. With my specialist, I have +1 movement, so I can sail 1, 2 spaces away. And now, in order to take that task, I can spend 2 action tiles to substitute for any one. And it can be any 2, they don't have to be the same. You can just use any 2 action tiles. So I'll use those as if they're a red task action. Use my ship to set sail, and I will collect this task over here. And now I have to make an offering to the guardians to be able to fulfill this task for them. So I have to pay 1 fruit. I have no fruit, so I'll pay a gold. And then I have to pay 1 of these tiles over here. So let's just use that fruit. I flip that face down and I place it on the island tile where I just took the task. And I'll pay a gold instead of the fruit. For my next turn, you'll see that I have the 3 leaves I need, so I'll be able to fulfill that task and ignite that bonfire. But before I can do that, Tom gets another turn. So we flip that over. We reveal the top card of the specialist deck. They will take all path tiles with shells. There are none, so play proceeds back to me. So I'm going to flip this task, igniting that bonfire, which is now worth 5 points at the end of the game. I can take my novice that is adjacent to that bonfire and send them to the High Council. Now remember, I can't come over here because I already have one there. But I can come here or here even though Tom's novices are there, because it's only if you have one of the same color that you can't go to that space. I think I'm going to come over to this seat at the High Council, which allows me to swivel the Great Bonfire anywhere I want. I will swivel it over to there and take the portal, so that will plug in over there. And I will take this wild action tile and I'm going to pop that over there. Play comes back to Tom, flippity flop that, reveal the top card, and he will remove all specialists that have the root cost, and we will refresh them. Aha, now there's a specialist I'd like to recruit. This specialist makes all of your action tiles count as double. That is very useful. So maybe I will just do that right now. I'm going to spend this brown action tile, and then I'm going to use 2 gold in lieu of the root I need to pay over there. Whoops. Bring that specialist over to there. And you will see that I'm placing these under these little icons here. That's because you are limited to 6 specialists recruited. So now it might be a good idea to start thinking about recruiting some of these elders to fill in these last 2 spaces. Back to Tom. We will give his deck a quick shuffle. Okay, so now I am down to just 1 action tile, so I think now's a good time to take another fate tile and get some more options. And I think I'm liking the look of this ship, because I want to sail around and do some stuff. So let's take this ship fate tile, and now if I place it adjacent to the ship, I'll get extra ship actions. Or, better still, I'm going to put it over here, so that it is adjacent to this spot, and I'll cover up that wild action. So I'll get a wild action tile. I will get a ship, a task, and 2 path tile actions. So I can show you how those work. And that is the end of my turn. Back over to Tom. He will flip over the specialist deck, take all tiles with that resource, which is annoying because that's the one I had my eye on. And replenish. Oh well, that's not too bad. I think I'm going to set sail and get another task. So I'm going to use my ship, and because of my specialist over here, I can move 2 spaces instead of 1. I'm just going to come down 1 space though, because I like the look of this task. I'm pretty much there. Basically, this wants you to have 3 path tile actions and 3 specialist actions. And I've already got the 3 specialist tiles, so I just need 1 more path, which I can get the next time I take a fate tile. So I'll place that over there, and I will pay the task to take it. And I should have flipped over this offering tile earlier, which is perfect. So I'm going to pay 1 leaf for that island over there. And then I'm going to pay with this offering tile, which I will flip face down, another leaf. So putting all those leaves to good use. Play comes back to Tom. Flip over the specialist deck, and he will take all specialists with the blue flower. So there's one, and there's one. Whoopsie. And then we will refresh these, and we'll just shuffle the specialist deck to do so. Refresh these. Now, I am going to take a path tile. So I'm going to spend this path tile action to take this path tile over here. Get some more reds matching my reds. We will replenish that. And play will proceed to Tom. Tom will take a guardian, and you can never have more than 1 guardian of the same color. So he'll just keep taking all the different colors. I am now going to stay where I am with my ship over here, and I'm going to do this task action. So I'm going to take this task tile, but now because it's the second one I'm taking from the same island, instead of it costing 1 action tile, you now have to pay 2. But because I have the specialist over here, I can use my wild as if it's 2. So I can pay 1 wild action. Then I can take this task, place it on my city over here, and you can put these in any order. And now I still have to pay the resources, so I will pay the leaf. And let's see, I've got leaves over there. I will give up this shell and I'll pay my gold. Now you'll see that I have run out of resources, so I won't be able to take any more tasks or recruit any more specialists or elders until I get some more. So the best way to get more resources is to make a procession with your guardians. They will give you resources where they land. And you can also get resources by spinning the Great Bonfire. That is the end of that turn. Back over to Tom. He will spin the Great Bonfire and take a portal. He will spin it to there and take this one and pop it in there. So he's getting very close to finishing off this common objective. The reason I took that task is because it wants you to have 2 offering tiles on the same island. So by taking it from that island, I now have met its requirement. So I can ignite that bonfire, take my novice, send them to the High Council, and get a bonus action. I could take a path tile from the board. I could take a guardian from anywhere on the map. This one lets me move my ship anywhere. This one lets me move one of my guardians to any space, be it a path tile or a portal. So instead of having to slowly move them around, you can just move them all the way to the end. And this one will allow you to take a specialist for free. But I'm not too keen on any specialists. I think I want to reserve these last 2 spaces for elders. I'm going to place this novice over here, which will allow me to place one of my fate tiles without having to wait until I'm down to the limit. And the reason I want to do that is I want to place this fate tile in such a way that I create a set of 3 path tiles, which will allow me to ignite that bonfire. So let's see, I can put it over there, would get me a resource. That's probably not a bad idea. There's no way I can configure it that it gets more than that, so yeah, we'll do that. I'll put it over there. So that will get me 3 path tiles, 1, 2, 3, a guardian, a bonfire, and a gold. 1 gold, so I get some resources back. And we make sure we keep an eye on the High Council. So currently we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 novices there. If at any point there are 7, the game end countdown will begin. Tom will now take another action, reveal a card, take all of those. There are none matching that resource. Play comes back to me. I can't get any more tasks until I get some resources. So I need to work on getting resources. I'm going to use this bonfire action, and I'm going to spin the bonfire 2 spaces for 1 action because of my specialist over there, to there, to take this portal over there and get a gold. So now I have 2 wild resources, basically allowing me to pick up any task or recruit any specialist. Come back to Tom. He will reveal this card, take the least valuable task from a shell island, so that would be this one, and place one of his novices. We'll just keep placing them clockwise and gain 1 point. I'm going to wrap it up after this turn because I think I've given you a pretty good sense of how it plays. I'm just going to do 1 final action to show you how these elders work. So I'm going to spend a wild action using my specialist over here as if it's 2, and I'll pay 1 gold resource to recruit this elder over here, place them in my city. You will see we don't replenish those because there is no deck for them. There is always the same collection of elders, and this elder will now score me 1 point for every fate tile I have on my board. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that would score me 5 points, taking me up to 7, and that is how the elders work. They just give you an immediate one-time benefit when you recruit them. And with that, I think I'll wrap it up. You've seen all the main actions, how all the different things interact with each other. I've completed a few tasks, flipped a few bonfires, sent my novices to the High Council, and play will just proceed like this, turn after turn after turn, until either there are 7 novices on the High Council, at which point the game end countdown will begin, or in the solo game, if we have gone through this deck of cards for the automatic player 4 times, the game will then immediately end. So you are incentivized in the solo game to try and accelerate the game end, because the longer you wait, the more stuff that the automatic player here can gather and score. Whereas if you can accelerate the game end, you can finish out before they have a chance to accumulate a huge collection of points. And basically in the solo game, you just need to beat the score that is set by Tom. And with that, I'll say thank you ever so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the show.